God's name was found in archaeology, but how it was pronounced? Let's watch this video.
As they approach the last ossuary, they feel that lightning can't strike twice. But sometimes it does.
Oh, wait, stop. So that's right.
That's an inscription.
That's an inscription.
That's it, baby.
There's an omega, clear as day. There's a C, delta, eta.
The inscription is in Greek, the dominant language of the wealthy in Jerusalem in the 1st century AD. But what does it say?
Yahweh is God's name, Yahweh in Greek.
In English, it's pronounced Jehovah.
So, that would be a verb. God is doing something. This and this I can't get.
The team contacts Professor James Charlesworth to help decipher the Greek inscription.
You were supposed to arrive yesterday, but you have a bit of a cold? Yesterday would have been no good.
We didn't need a Greek reader yesterday, but we do today.
Okay, you're not going to come.
Are you teasing me? What?
Yeah, come.
What have we got?
And in the middle area, between the two rosettes, you've got this Greek inscription.
All right, I can read Yao. We have this in the Jewish magical papyri as a way of referring to Yahweh or God. So here you have it in Greek, in uncials, that means all caps, Yao. And above, I'm suggesting it might be Dios, God or Zeus is now Yahweh.
There you go.
Upso, that would be related to the Greek word upsotheo, to raise up.
What? Yep, that's it.
Upsilon, C, and Omega. And that is uncial for upsoo, which in the Gospel of John is used for the resurrection of Jesus. Upsoo, he is lifted up. I am lifted up, says Jesus. I am lifted up. I am raised up. Upsoo. And the rest, I'm not sure I can read. A lamath, pei.
Maybe an olive.
It could be an olive. Apo. Upsoo. Apo tuthanu, I would guess. From the dead.
The first two lines are clear. The first word is Dios, which can be read as Lord or God. The second word, Jehovah, the name of God in the Hebrew Bible. And then a word, upso, which can mean has raised, will raise, or is raising. And finally, three letters that are not clear. They could be referencing, as Professor Charlesworth sight-read, the realm of death. But the last three letters may actually be A, G, B. The last word then could be Agba, the Hebrew equivalent of upso. In this case, the inscription is translinear. Greek, Hebrew, Greek, Hebrew.
The tomb predates the Great War with Rome between 66 to 73 AD. It was found in modern times by Professor James Tabor and his team during excavations. They said it was pronounced Yahweh or Jehovah, but how does the inscription really pronounce and what does it really say? What are you looking at are 4 lines of Greek text left by a family member of the deceased occupant of the ossuary tomb. Yes, I know it's Greek, but Greek was one of the languages that ancient Israelites spoke back then, just like we are speaking English today. So try not to let this distract you from the fact that the inscription was not made by a heathen. The top of the tombs were owned by ancient Israelites. Here are the 4 lines translated into the Latin script. The first line says Dios, it's a vocative. The second word is a deity name. It says Yah in a vertical stroke and O. Third line says upso, it's a verb. Fourth line is a personal name, Alpha, Gamma, and Beta. The inscription is a very brief prayer on behalf of the deceased, whose name was Hagab, that he be raised up to life again on the day of the resurrection. The million-dollar question, however, is the word on the second line, which is clearly a deity name. The first inclination of Prof. Tabor to pronounce this word as Yao was correct.
Yahweh is God's name, Yahweh in Greek.
The first 2 lines are iota and alpha, clear as day. The last letter is omicron, clear as day. Prof. Tabor went and obtained a second opinion from another scholar who happened to be in Jerusalem at the time. Prof. James Charlesworth. When Prof. James Charlesworth was shown the inscription, he immediately and without the slightest hesitation said this word is to be pronounced Yaoh.
All right, I can read Yaoh. We have this in the Jewish magical papyri as a way of referring to Yahweh or God. So here you have it in Greek, in uncials, that means all caps, Yaoh, all caps, Yaoh, all caps, Yaoh, all caps, Yaoh.
He did this without being coached by anyone on Tabor's team beforehand. But Prof. Tabor later changed his mind and came to the conclusion that the 4 Greek signs represents the 4 Hebrew letters of the divine name. And so, the third sign must represent the Hebrew letter W, despite the fact that every other letter in the inscription is Greek. The third sign, which looks like a vertical line, is in fact the divider, a letter between 2 successive syllables in order to indicate a glottal stop between syllables. The pronunciation is Yaoh without question, just as Prof. Tabor initially thought, and just as Prof. Charlesworth immediately recognized. This pronunciation is the only one that is ever attested pre-70 AD, and thus it is consistent with all the other evidence we have, that the divine name was in fact pronounced exactly Yaoh and no other way, when Biblical Hebrew was still a living language. Again, in the second line, the vertical stroke is actually divider, a sign for glottal stop between Ya and the final letter Omicron, because without this vertical stroke, the reader would immediately read it as Yao. So this whole word is really read as Yaoh. If this sign is letter Iota, then it was read as Yaoh with an unwritten glottal stop in that case. But Yaoh has nothing to do with God's name, and there is no other legitimate proof that his name is Yaoh. God's name is pronounced Yaoh according to this inscription and to the other sources that we will discuss later. When the scholar Yehuda Bandor conferred with Dr. Roussel about this, he asked him what he thought the inscription of the Talmud tomes could mean. Bandor told him it reads, "O divine Yaoh, raise up Hagab." He explained to Dr. Roussel what he had relayed to Prof. Tabor about the third sign and the second row of the inscription being divided. His reply was, "Very interesting indeed." The Talmud Oswari inscription might be in Greek, just like the Dead Sea Scroll 4Q120 is in Greek, but they were not made by the heathen hands. The views expressed in them, the beliefs, and most importantly, the holy name of the deity mentioned in them, not Greek at all.
Now that we have deciphered this inscription, we are now moving on to another Greek transliteration of God's name. The Dead Sea Scroll fragment 4Q120 dates from the 1st century BCE, is a manuscript of the Torah in Greek, made by Israelite priests who lived at the desert community of Qumran before it was abandoned during the War of 66 to 73 AD. Here is a close-up look of 4Q120, showing the divine name transliterated with the 3 Greek letters Iota, Alpha, and Omega.
So what we see here is, it's said, if I get an edition of the Septuagint today, every occurrence, or most of the occurrences in the Old Testament of the Tetragrammaton, YHWH, God's special name, are going to be rendered by the Greek word kurios, meaning Lord. However, when I look at Greek manuscripts of the Old Testament that come from the Dead Sea Scrolls and from that period, I will find that on the whole, those Greek manuscripts do not use the word kurios, Lord, rendering the Tetragrammaton. One of them, from the K4 of Qumran, uses Yaoh,
The fragment reads as follows. Ean the psilchim yamarteakos siosek tullautoiskes en topo yeise miana popasson ton entolon Yaoh, upiethe setai, kai play merese. This document is proof of how the divine name is supposed to be pronounced, and it comes from the people who actually spoke Biblical Hebrew as their mother tongue. These people were not heathens. These people were Zedekiah priests of Yaoshar or Israel. Dr. Martin Roussel stated, Obviously, the text preserved the divine name as it was spoken. The text it's talking about is the 4Q120. God's name is transliterated correctly in Greek as Iota, Alpha, and Omega, but going back to the Talpit tome, the writer used Omicron instead of Omega. Why does it matter that using Omega is the right way instead of Omicron? It matters because one of the rules in Greek is when the letter Alpha was followed by Omega, it produces its own natural glottal stop between A sound and an O sound, so you don't need to write any divider to tell the reader it's pronounced like A, O. Now if you use Omicron, it simply becomes a diphthong making it sound ow, and if you read Iota, Alpha, Omicron, read it as Yao, just like the basketball celebrity Yao Ming. But the good thing in Talpit tome inscription is that the divider was written to make sure it's pronounced correctly as it should be, Yao. Moving on to another basis that his name is pronounced Yao, is when one of the greatest historians named Diodorus of Sicily was told by the native Hebrew speakers in 60 BCE how God's name was pronounced. He used the same spelling Iota, Alpha, Omega just like how these Zadokite priests did. Theodoret, who lived somewhere in 393 to 458 AD, also heard how God's name is pronounced by the Israelites long before Masoretes ever existed. Heathen Samaritans pronounce it as Yahweh and they pronounce it wrong. But the Yaoshar all pronounce it as Yao. They said it correctly because it's their God. Do these evidences satisfy you already? If not, let's move on to another language. The divine name is not only transliterated in Greek, but also transliterated in Latin and many more languages. Saint Jerome transliterated the Tetragrammaton as IAHO to have preserved the pronunciation of the old transliteration of the Tetragrammaton. In the book CCL 72.191 it says, Nomen Domini apud Hebraios quator literarum est Yodhe waORHER, quod proprie de vocabolum sonet et legi potest Yao. In Latin, the letter J is literally invented for the Y sound in 15th century AD, but at the time of Jerome, the letter J didn't yet existed, so the letter I is used. It's the same as the Greek letter Iota, where the E sound is produced whenever it was followed by a consonant, but if it's a vowel, it's a Y sound. Now the Latin letter H at the time of Jerome is an H sound if it's the first letter of a word, but if it's not, it's a silent letter. And Latin adopted that rule from ancient Hebrew, so IAHO is read clearly as Yao. One more evidence in Latin is when Josephus also recorded the same vocalization. According to this book, the works of Flavius Josephus, the author didn't yet heard something about the real pronunciation and they falsely pronounce it as Yehovah or Jehovah. But then, it's their first time to hear the pronunciation from the passage of Josephus to have been originally pronounced Yao. Again, this book was transliterated in 1895, so it's not surprising that the translator used letter J, but that letter J is Y sound in Latin, and the H is silent if not the first letter of a word. Therefore, J-A-H-O-H is pronounced Yao, while the other one, J-A-O, cannot be Yao, because the vowels A and O cannot be a diphthong ow in Latin, for Latin doesn't have this kind of diphthong. So J-A-O also pronounced Yao. Dating to the 4th century BCE, the Israelite Psalms was recorded in an Egyptian papyrus, Papyrus Amherst 63. It was likely created by the descendants of the Aramean and Judean soldiers who in the 5th century BCE had been stationed in the southern Egyptian border. It was recorded in the cursive script derived from Egyptian hieroglyphs, to be specific, Demotic script. In the article Egyptian Papyrus Sheds New Light on Jewish History in July or August 2018 issue of Biblical Archaeology Review, author Karel van der Toorn condensed that 3 Israelite Psalms appear in Papyrus Amherst 63. Read some few words from van der Toorn's translations of the Psalms from Papyrus Amherst 63. May Yahweh answer us in our troubles. May Adonai answer us in our troubles. Be above in heaven, crescent. Send your messengers from All Rush and from Zaphon. May Yahweh help us. May Yahweh give to us our heart's desire. May the Lord give to us our heart's desire. Every wish may Yahweh fulfill. May Yahweh fulfill. May Adonai not diminish any request of our heart. Some by the bow, some by the spear. Behold, as for us, my Lord, our God is Yahweh. May our bull be with us, may Bethel answer us tomorrow. But all Shemaim shall bless the Lord. Your loyal ones, I bless you. The Demotic script transliteration read as YHW. It's the transliteration of the hieroglyphic text like this one. The first glyph is read as Ya. The next glyph is a vowel placeholder, only treated as silent, and the terminal W is a matter O vowel. Thus, it's read as Ya-O. Now another language, Imperial Aramaic. The name Yao is also written in an Imperial Aramaic language used in Elephantine Papyrus of 5th century BCE. In the book of Kauli, it says, the fourth line, waYa'ohghakab. Again, the earliest form of transliterating the Tetragrammaton into Imperial Aramaic is only two letters commonly known as Yod and Waw. But then, the other way of writing it is by using the letter commonly known as He, which is used more likely as a silent vowel placeholder, or to inform the reader that there's a pause between Yod and Waw. So, for the earliest form, Yod and Waw, the first syllable is read as Ya, while the last syllable is O or U. But the older pronunciation in other language uses O vowel, so it must be O. So the earliest transliteration Yod and Waw was read Ya'o. For another way of writing, which was found in Elephantine Papyri, the letter He is silent. So Yod He Waw in Imperial Aramaic is Ya silent O, also read Ya'o. The Imperial Aramaic is different language and cannot be compared to Hebrew, so the transliteration Yod He Waw is not the shortened form of the Tetragrammaton. The Tetragrammaton in Masoretic Hebrew uses Aramaic script, Aramaic square script, not ancient Hebrew script, so don't confuse it to Imperial Aramaic that uses almost identical script. They are different languages, just like Greek and Hebrew are different. Going forth to the much older transliteration in 8th century BCE, the Akkadian transliteration which was recorded in K3751, Kala Summary Inscription 7, in the line 11, the syllable Ya was written in Akkadian with an IA sign. The vowels A plus U contracted to O as in August were written in Akkadian with a U sign. Thus the pronunciation is also Yao. The oldest transliteration is none other than the Egyptian hieroglyph inscription in Solid Temple in Nubia, Egypt, which was written by Amenhotep III. He knew the exodus of the people of Yahushua leaving Egypt, and he knew what happened to the Egyptians in Egypt when Masha uttered the divine name. Here's the inscription made by Amenhotep III. The inscription of these Medoneller or Egyptian hieroglyphs read as N16 depicted as horizontal strip of land, M8 depicted as pool with lotus flowers, M23 sedge plant glyph, G43 quail chick glyph, M14 double reed glyph, O4 shelter glyph, V4 lasso glyph, G1 falcon glyph. This glyph in the inscription was thought to be G43, but the recent update by the Egyptologist named Titus Kennedy just proved it's G1. The first glyph is a biliteral sign Ta, which means land. The second glyph is a biliteral sign Sha. The third and fourth glyph forms a group. This group was read as Su, so the second glyph Sha and the group Su read as Shasu. There's no such people ever called Shasu. It's just a word for nomads, and nomads means people without permanent habitation. These nomads are the children of Yaoshua. For the next word, the first group M14 and O4 was read as Ya, Yah. and the last group V4 and G1 was read as O when placed at the end of Egyptian group writing, but it's a W if placed at the beginning of an Egyptian group writing, and a W or O if placed in the middle. Since this group was placed at the end, it can only be an O vowel. So this whole word read as Yao. This Maronite inscription read as Ta Shasu Yao, land of the nomads of Yao. This inscription describes the nomad people of Yao living in Canaan next door to Egypt. The name Yao is not the name of a land because there's no land sign in there. The native Egyptians are so afraid to Yao. They accept all deity, all foreign deity, except for the one whose name is Yao. And you can clearly notice it because there's no native sign or deity sign written there. So it means it's not a deity that native Egyptians worship. They are afraid to Yao because of what happened in 15th century BCE when the people of Yaohsha'al left Mitzrayim or Egypt. Exodus 7 verse 5.
ويدايو ماتريم خياني ياو بانتثي أثيادي غال ماتريم وهوتثي أثباني ياوشرال ماثوخام.
And the Egyptians will know that I am Yao. Then I stretch forth my hand upon Mitzrayim, and I bring out the sons of Yaohsha'al from among them. So now that we already have these evidences that this name is pronounced Yao, how it is read Yao according to the ancient Hebrew phonetics. This is the four-lettered name of God written in original ancient Hebrew script. It was called Tetragrammaton in Greek, which means consisting of 4 letters. If you read that as 𝐤𝐄𝐻, 𝐤𝐻𝐿𝐻, YHWH, YHVH, YHQH, Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yahweh, Yahweh, Yehwa, Yahu, Yahweh, 𝐤𝐄, 𝐤𝐄, Yehovah, Yehovah, Jehovah, Yahav, Yahweh, and the list goes on and on. You're not in the truth. What you have is a wrong information about the real phonetics of ancient Hebrew. They all didn't have any single proofs that they are pronounced like that. There's only one way to say this name, and that is according to the phonetics of ancient Hebrew or Ghabari. The letter Yah is only consonant heard in the name of God, and it's simply pronounced with an inherent short A vowel, Yah. The letter Ha is a silent vowel placeholder because it was followed by a vowel. The letter Wa is a long O vowel because it's not the first letter of a word. Therefore, it's read as Yao. And the last letter Ha is a silent letter again, still read Yao. His name is pronounced Yao, but read in another way is to spell it as YA', still read Yao. Transliteration can be spelled in many different ways as long as you capture the most accurate pronunciation. The name Yao can be spelled in many different ways in English, but the pronunciation must never alter, which the pronunciation is the most important. His name is Yao, and it came back to this modern day according to the prophecy, and it's very old as what we can see in these transliterations, and like these fake names are that much older. Some originated in 200 AD, 900 AD, but most of them are of 20th century. So what about the word Yah? The word Yah appeared 49 times in the Hebrew Bible. This is not a proper name. It is a title used only by Yahweh. He's the only one that can use this word Yah because Yah means eternal, for he is the only eternal. Just like the title Papyrus, only one person can bear this title. Queen James Bible substituted the word Yah for the word Lord in Isaiah 12 verse 2, while the word the Lord is Jehovah, whereas the capital letters LORD is commonly used as a word in place of the Tetragrammaton. So many people are confused on what really is the word Yah. Keep in mind that Yahweh does not have a nickname. Nicknames are short pet form names abbreviated from real names. Example, Will for William, Tom for Thomas, Mike for Michael, Steve for Stephen, Sam for Samuel, etc. Not one of the gods worshipped in the ancient Near East where the people of Yaohsha'al originated had a nickname. Not one. For example, you will never find the pagan Assyrian god Ashur's name shortened to just Ash, nor will you ever find an example of the pagan god Nabu shortened to just Nan, nor the pagan god Marduk's name shortened to just Mar or March in its pronunciation. Since this never happens with the names of these false gods, because the people who worship them had too much respect for them to treat their names in a non-common way. It is absurd to think the ancient Hebrews gave their deity a pet nickname. So where this notion that Yah is an abbreviated nickname of the Creator come from? It comes from the German scholar named Heinrich Friedrich Wilhelm Gesenius. Gesenius' Hebrew lexicon states that Yah is an abbreviation of Yod-He-Vav-He, or the Tetragrammaton. And just where did Gesenius get this understanding from? He pulled it straight out of his own ass. There's not one shred of literary comparative linguistic evidence that you can muster in support of Gesenius' view that Yah is an abbreviation. But his view is the one almost everyone cites today as an established fact for lack of a better alternative. Yeshaya 12 verse 2.
Ana, al Yahshua Abdach Walabchad, Chegaze was Amrat, Yah, Ya'o, waYa'ele Yahshua.
Behold, God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid, for my strength and my songs, the eternal, Yahweh, has become salvation to me.